Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nirmal. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Rakesh Sharma, ET Bajaj Auto, joining in. Welcome to the show, Rakesh. If we talk about the first quarter of FY21, does not really look as bad as what people had actually anticipated and expected. So that is something which is good news and actually has come in as a relief for a lot of investors as well. If you could just help us understand what is it that we've done right that we actually saw a strong operational beat versus consensus estimates?
Hi, Hiral. No, you're very right. Quarter one was a very difficult quarter. And, in that we saw the extreme lows of April when business had come to a complete standstill. And then by June, the recovery surpassed everyone's expectations and reached almost 80% of a normal June, 75 to 80%, particularly in motorcycles. But when the enormity of COVID first hit us by, let's say, mid-March or so, we decided, the first thing which we decided was that we are going to really reduce our planning horizon. So generally one plans for the year and all that, but we said no. Now we got to look at the quarter and we got to look at the month. Of course, in certain aspects, you don't do that, like product development and all. That continues with the long-term focus. However, we said there is no point, forecasting quarter three or quarter two even, because it is very difficult. So we said, now we've got to manage for April, May, and June our P&L account. We have to run the business through the P&L, not depend on our balance sheet, which as you know, is very strong. And so we went to work first on costs very quickly. But I must say that Bajaj Auto is a tightly run ship in any case. And but still, we sort of attack costs at every level. Some aspects of COVID actually did help in reducing costs. For example, travel. There's a large component of international travel, which Bajaj Auto has, that became zero. And of course, domestic travel also. So that naturally came down. And then we examined many, many micro aspects. There was no one silver bullet lying because, like I said, it's a tightly run ship. We attacked the costs and repairs, maintenance, and everywhere, and had a good program for cost reduction, which went into execution very, very fast. And we ended up saving about 95 crores. And this is, I'm not including employee costs or sales and marketing. So these were, other than that, we got 95 crores down. The third thing, besides reducing the planning horizon and attacking the operational costs, the third thing which we did was we said that let's look at our portfolio and, those models and SKUs which we, in normal times, we would have sort of carried with us, which were, negative or on the margins. And in normal times, we would have said, okay, let it go because, you never know how the volumes turn out. But we said that whatever we sell has to make money. So we rejig the portfolio also a little bit. And the combination of all this yielded some very good results for us in these difficult times.
Right. So with this, Rakesh, if you have to look at exports as well as the domestic market in this situation, which markets are the ones which are actually picking up steam and returning to pre-COVID levels faster?
You mean internationally?
Yeah, if you have to compare domestic and international.
Yeah, so, I would say, so we monitor 50 countries regularly. We're exporting to 79, but we monitor 50 countries on a very close basis. And I must say that the pattern appears to be very similar to what's happening in India. So at an overall level in motorcycles, we are tracking, 80 to 85% restoration of retail levels compared to the same period previous year. This is, of course, an average. So what is ahead is South Asia and Middle East. And now, particularly in July, LATAM has come, the key markets of LATAM have come bounding back to almost 90% levels. Africa is still at about 75% levels, and ASEAN is still at about 75% level. So when you put it all together in motorcycles, it's 80 to 85% levels. In commercial vehicles, India has taken a big hit. We are only at 20% levels because road traffic has plummeted. Normal life is just not there. So ride hailing is not happening. And financiers have become cautious. They've withdrawn the previous terms. So nobody's buying these three-wheelers. We are only at 20% level. Here, the international markets have done much better, and the international markets not as good as motorcycles, but in CV also they're tracking at about 60%. Having said that, one thing I must point out is that any change in retail levels in domestic immediately translates into billing and shipments for us. But changes in international markets have about a lead time of about 1 month or 6 weeks, because there is a lot of pipeline inventory, much more than what it is there in domestic, because a lot of the product is on the sea most of the time. So by the time this translates into some shipments from our side, it will be a month later.
Right. So if we have to talk about the CV space as well, you mentioned we're already at only 20% of pre-COVID levels. However, the anticipation, Rakesh, right now is that people will probably stop using shared mobility, uh, and hence two-wheeler sales is something which could probably pick up really well. Entry level four-wheelers is something which could really pick up really well. If you have to look at this scenario, do you think we will be able to negate the negative impact on the three-wheeler sales? I mean, the two-wheeler sales will be able to offset that negative impact?
See, I think the three-wheeler sales, particularly, we are very big in the small three-wheeler, which is generally, except for cities like Bombay,
Correct.
this is generally used as a private taxi
Mm.
only. It's not used as a shared transport, the small three-wheeler. Of course, the large three-wheeler in the outskirts of the city, you see a lot of cramming going on in over there. But the small three-wheeler generally is hired by the family or individuals or so. So from that point of view, I would club the small three-wheeler and motorcycle or two-wheelers to behave in a similar, to be affected in a similar way about their relative safety compared to public transport. And of course, we are picking up a lot of anecdotal evidence. There's a lot of chatter amongst the customer fence sitters who are saying that, oh, I might as well take a call to go two-wheelers, and not go use public transport. But really, I think that we have to wait a little bit longer to see whether this becomes a solid growth driver or not. Because, as people get comfortable with COVID, and as COVID recedes and public transport resumes, whether the public memory will be short and the elastic will go back to its original shape, and whether this will sustain as a demand driver or not, has to be watched for a few more months, particularly after COVID. But at this point of time, yes, there is indeed anecdotal evidence in favor of two-wheelers. And I think it will envelope the small three-wheeler also.
Right. And overall, do you think the current margins are sustainable? Because yes, ads and marketing spends are not something that we are really taking into consideration right now, or this is just like a one-time gross margin that we've seen.
Well, if you consider the almost close to 20% margin which we talked about for June, for of course the quarter, it was at 14% plus levels. Um, yes, I would say the marketing and advertising expenditures will indeed go up, but there will be, and we would like to be slightly ahead of the curve, as the demand curve rises, we like to be slightly ahead in our advertising and marketing spend so that we can, bounce back quicker. So that will definitely have a depressing impact on the margins. But at the same time, if the volumes come back, which we are optimistically thinking they should, then the operating leverage improves, and to some extent, the second thing, which positive thing, which we are going to look forward to, which may take maybe another quarter or so, is the mix of three-wheeler in the whole portfolio. Right now, the mix of three-wheeler, both in international and domestic, is very, very low. And we talked about it. And three-wheeler is, delivers a much higher profitability than the average. And when that comes back, so when you put all these things together, the sustenance of the exchange rates, etc. So yeah, we have to figure out, the pluses and minuses, but it will not be a big slide. They'll be range bound in the vicinity.
Right. And are you seeing any downtrading happening post-COVID era? Because clearly what we see right now is, especially in terms of a Pulsar is concerned, the share has increased to, I think, almost 50% in the first quarter from a 40% earlier. We are increasing market share in the sports segment as well. So what is the demand trend actually indicating?
Actually, the most encouraging thing about message from the performance of the market in June and July, besides the fact that it has come back faster than people expected, is actually the quality of demand, the way the demand. We have not seen any erosion in in our segment play. The structure of the architecture of our portfolio is almost the same. In fact, a little bit more in favor of pulsars. We have one of the cheapest motorcycles, the most affordable motorcycle, in something called the CT100 Kickstart in the industry. And it's not that we have seen a huge sales in CT100 KS because everyone is rushing to the most affordable motorcycle. It is not the case. Even in Pulsar 125, which is aimed at the mid segment, which has done outstandingly well, there are three variants. There is the cheapest one is at 71,000 rupees, and the most expensive one is at 79,000 rupees. And the one which has outperformed the other two is the more expensive one. But yes, what we are definitely seeing is that the customer is, evaluating value more robustly and spending more time on it in understanding what he is paying for. And therefore, even in our portfolio, when we see models which have got a weak proposition, irrespective of their price, whether it's low or high, they've got punished. And those models where the proposition is very clear and evident and physical, that there's a disc brake, there's electric start, there is a proper headlamp with or a beautiful headlamp, though irrespective of the price, they've done well. And that's a very nice message to receive from the market.
Right. And another trend, Rakesh, that I've been hearing about right now is a lot of FMCG consumption-driven companies with a huge sales force are the ones who are moving to two-wheelers as well. So the demand for the sales representatives is something which is expected to go up for the two-wheeler industry. Probably that's going to be something which is going to benefit. But very lastly, on the inventory front, we're not very far away from the festive season now. Are we going to, as a company, get that policy of inventory building right now? Do you think it's the right time? Or will we continue to maintain the 30 to 35-day inventory?
No, the distribution network is very deep and it's multi-layered in auto. And that is the reason which inventories have to be at that level. And as you know, it takes time to reach all parts of the country. So I would say nothing has changed, and we will have to get into inventory building mode because our inventories are now running below 30 days actually. Because as you know, there have been interruptions in the supply chain side. So we are running below 30. In fact, in our pro biking unit, which sells the KTM and Husqvarna brands, we are very, very low, and we've gone on to a booking system. And like you said, with the uh, festive season approaching and hopefully demand getting restored simultaneously, we will have to get into an inventory building mode.
Right. So, what inventory are we looking to maintain for the festive season in terms of number of days?
Well, just pre-festive, they do right. They go up to almost 40, 45 days even.
Right. And very lastly, Rakesh, with regards to the new plant in Brazil that we're looking to open, what's the rationale behind that? Why not export from India? Is there any cost advantage on that front?
Well, we have not yet said that we have not said that we are setting up a new plant.
Mm.
We are going to follow the same model where we are going to build the business. We are going to build the front end first, and we are going to, over the next few months, decide the business model.
Right.
Of course, the regulations in Brazil are such that we cannot compete whilst doing a CKD or an SKD. There will be some amount of localization which will have to be done, so that we get the secure the best taxation for ourselves. So we will take care of that aspect, working with partners. But that exact business model, we have to work that out in.
Right, right. All right, Rakesh. Pleasure speaking to you. I will not take more time for you from today. But thank you so much for joining in. We will come back to you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. Take care. Stay safe.
Indeed. Thank you for having me over, Hiral. Bye.
Thank you.